Okay, it's 4 o'clock, so we're going to call the meeting to order. Brent Cameron will be coming in by Zoom and he's running a little late. And Cindy Kelsey is on her way and she's running a little late. So we will go ahead and those folks will be with us. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. First is the approval of the agenda. Moved by Bill Mcdonald and seconded by Sherry Wan, that the rules of procedure order be amended to move number 11 public meetings up in the agenda to follow number 5 mayor's remarks. That the agenda for the regular council meeting for June 14th, 2022 be approved as, are there any amendments?
No, there are not, Madam Mayor.
So as presented, all those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof from any member of council on tonight's agenda? Bill?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm declaring a potential pecuniary interest on the agenda item 6B, item road closing, for the following reasons. I'm a property owner on said road.
Okay, we'll note that in the minutes. Have a motion moved by Sherry Wan and seconded by Bill Mcdonald that the minutes of the regular council meeting held May the 24th, 2022, and the special council meeting held June 6th, 2022 be approved as presented. Any errors or omissions or discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Mayor's remarks. I really don't have too many remarks tonight. Kathy gave me this. It's called, Are You Running or Thinking About Running for Council on October the 24th? And it's a municipal elections 2022 candidate training session that will be held June 21st, 23rd, August 11th, and August 22nd. It costs $65. And there is a website here to register. It's being put on by Summit Pick and whatever that is.
Yeah, Summit PD.
Summit PD. So if anyone's interested, Kathy will have this information for you. I don't think I have anything else. Does any Deputy Mayor Wan?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of exciting things. One, on behalf of myself and Councillor Cameron, who sit on the arena board. The arena was successful in procuring a couple more grants, and one was for $4,000, and it's the Platinum Jubilee grant, and it's to help fund, it will help fund some of the public and family skates coming up in the fall, which will be great. As well, they also procured a $15,530 grant from Hydro One, in which the costs help with costs that were obtained during COVID. So that's exciting. And as well, just that the OSO Rec Committee is moving forward with Canada Day plans. And we have a lot of fun activities planned for Canada Day at the beach. So
I see we're going to have a flotilla
yes,
instead of a parade. So that'll be interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add? Seeing none? All right, we will move into our public meeting section. And our first one is 91-2022 public meeting, road closure Forte. And what we'll do is Cindy will speak to it in general. And then if any member of the public wants to speak, come up to the table and give us your name and we'll get you on the microphone so we can all hear you. Cindy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the report I did up is relatively current. I have not received any comments or concerns from the public on this one. And I did receive an email from Hydro One confirming that they do not need any easement requirements for this particular road closing. So I don't know if council has any specific questions they want to ask about that closure.
Does council have any questions? Okay. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak about this or ask a question about this? Okay, if not, I'll read the motion. And after the motion is read, if council has any further questions or the public, we'll take them then as well. Moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Bill Mcdonald. that council receive input from the public meeting and the accompanying report prepared by the deputy clerk. And further, that subject to the comments received at the public meeting, council approve the recommendation to stop up and close a section of the unopened road allowance between concession 6 and 7 Olden, lying south of Long Lake, as described in the report, said sections to be described by reference plan. And further, that staff are authorized to proceed with the next steps of obtaining survey and appraisal of the land and bringing forward a bylaw to council to stop up, close and convey the said road allowance to the applicant as a lot addition, subject to any easements as may be required by Hydro One Ontario Network, Inc. Said bylaw to indicate that all costs relating to the registration of the bylaw and transfer documents on title be at the property owner's expense. Any questions on that motion? Okay, any questions from the public on that motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Cindy, you might as well just stay there. And the next one is the public meeting road closure and easements, Harkin and Mcdonald on the Oso Road.
Okay, so again, on this closure report, we did receive a lot of comments from the public, and there's a wide variety of them. So I know there's people here today that will wish to speak. So that is good to hear everybody's comments. I guess the challenge, this is a challenging one, as we all know, because there is that section of road that is essentially between the wetland, which is not suitable to be upgraded into a road without significant cost. And then there's the section south of the trail, which is no longer usable as a road due to the encroachments. So we do have to come up with some kind of creative solution on this one. Based on the various comments and concerns that were raised, Kathy did change the motion on this one to possibly look at deferring this until we can see if there's any other solutions out there, to seek some legal and planning advice and see what options might be available there.
Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll just read the motion so that the folks that are going to be speaking to it know that the motion that was in the package is different. So the motion is by Sherry Wan and by Tom Dewey. And it says, whereas a public meeting notice regarding the closure of part lot 1920 concession 3, also known as Oso Road, was published for 2 weeks in the Frontenac News, published on our website and mailed to adjoining property owners. Now therefore be it resolved that council receive input from the public meeting and the accompanying report prepared by the deputy clerk. And further, that in light of the comments received at the public meeting, council defer the recommendation to stop up and close a section of the Oso Road pending further legal advice. So that is what council will be voting on, but I'll open it up now to anybody who would like to come forward and make a presentation. And you note that all of your letters were in our package and council received and read all of those letters. Okay.
And Madam Mayor, we may have a couple of folks virtual that may wish to speak as well.
Okay.
I don't know, do you want to deal with them first or do have the?
Let's deal with the public that are here first, and then we can go to the virtual. Okay, so who's first? Trevor, come on up. Yes, it is. Yep, there we go.
Madam Mayor, members of council, my name is Trevor Conboy. Thanks for taking the time to read my written submission. I will simply at this time reiterate that I'm opposed to closing the Oso Road north of the KMP rail bed. Thank you very much.
Okay, just a minute, does any member of council have a question on what Trevor has presented in writing or here tonight? Now's the time we can ask any questions. Okay. Excellent.
Okay,
thanks, Trevor.
Thank you very much.
And who's next? Julie. Okay, come on up. The microphone's already on for you.
So I prepared something.
Okay.
That I want, can I pass it out?
Is this in addition to what you've already
Yeah,
given us?
this is
Okay,
in addition.
yeah. Just watch those cords. Yeah, don't
No.
trip. Kathy and I can share.
Yeah, we can check. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, geez.
Speak into the microphone.
Okay,
just so
and I'll
everybody
take my
else-
mask off.
Yes.
So what, how does, is
It's
it
on.
on?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just introduce myself. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes,
Can the Zoomers hear me?
yes. As long as you speak in the microphone. they
Okay,
hear.
can I move it
I
a
can
little
hear you.
closer?
Tyson here, and I can hear it crystal clear.
Okay, I think it's really important that everybody hear me because
Okay.
this matter is really concerning to me. And if I start crying,
We'll understand.
yeah. Anyway, so look at your maps. So this is a blow up of the property.
We don't have a map.
Oh. Didn't I ask that? Oh, yeah, the map
Oh,
in
in
the
the package.
package. Sorry, sorry
okay.
about that. There's a map in the package that I included with my letter. So please,
Okay.
everybody turn to the page where that map is. This is very important to me. And I
Okay.
would encourage council to ask any questions of me because it's a very serious matter concerning me.
Okay,
So anyways, so here's the map. It shows the southern portion of Oso Road that's to be closed between the K&P Trail and Belline Road. I live at 2138 Belline Road. This whole proposal affects me in a major way, and I'll explain why. If you look at your map, the two properties that are made up of the one triangular wedge shape, if you look at your map to the left, on the left side of that section of outlined road, and there's another little section to the right of it that's a little rectangle. That makes up my property. I explained in very good detail in the package of how this works. The little gray thing that you see to the left of that roadway in the middle is my house. And the other little gray thing behind it is the sheds. So as you know, my septic system goes under this road. That is a huge concern for me. And if there's any questions about the map, the shed also, I think, encroaches on the road, but it's the septic and both actually that make this a huge matter concerning me. So if there's any questions now or at any time, bring them forward. I'm going to be, does that mean there's a question?
No.
Okay,
Brent
sorry.
just joined us.
I don't do Zoom. I have an old computer, so I've never Zoomed in my life. So 2 quick points of clarification, if anyone is able to answer them at this time. And actually I found this out. So the clarification, it's both sections of road that are to be stopped up and closed. One question of clarification, the rights of way easements, could these end up being on the southern section that concerns my property? Can anybody answer to that? Because
Cindy?
Yes, thank you. I can answer that. And the easements for the two property owners north is not, they will not receive an easement over that. It's
and I'm talking about the right of way easements, not the hydro easements. That's a separate thing.
correct. It's there'd be no easement for them in favor of them over this portion.
So there'd be no
If-
right of way granted there.
That's right. The
Okay.
right of way is purely
Yes,
for this
okay.
section. And whether or not we close this is totally up to whether or not you want it closed. It's open now, so it's public. So the thought was if you wanted to tie into that and have it closed at the same time.
Yeah, I understand
we
that.
would,
Okay, so I'm just
accommodate
going to
that.
continue with my concerns. So the reference plan, one concern is there's a mention of a reference plan somewhere in the motion that I don't know what that is or how it might concern me. That's one concern. That's why I asked.
Can we
for-
just ask Cindy? The reference plan relates to?
So I think what Julie's referring to is the need to, if we do close that section south of the KNP, we will need to have a part to describe it on a reference plan in order to register it on title. So we'll be, if we go ahead with the proposal to close the road and grant easements, we'll be doing survey work in there. And the idea is if we get the surveyor out to do all of the survey work at the same time, it's cheaper for everybody because they're not separate R plans. So whether it's done now or later, it doesn't matter, but it's just the idea of we do need to do a reference plan to describe the parts to register them on title.
Okay, so just so I understand, I'm still not 100% clear of the reference plan because I've never seen it. So I'm concerned about that.
Just
Oops.
let me see if I can explain. A reference plan is how a survey talks about what is being transferred or provided an easement. So
Okay.
it's saying like lot number 1, part number 13.
Okay,
So it's just a reference number that a surveyor puts on a plan that then the lawyers can use to describe your easement.
okay.
I did give you the reference plan that you have for your property because we had that on file. So it'd be very similar to that. Remember, there was a plan, had a 13R in the corner.
I don't remember that. I
Okay.
was too
I think that was one of,
freaked out.
that was one of the documents I gave to you when you were in the office.
Sorry, but I would ask to get that document again because I don't remember really what that was. So can I ask for that again now? Okay, and I got to write down asked for a plan because the thing is I go away from this and my head's still spinning that I don't really remember everything. So just to the second thing, the section in the resolution stating easements may be granted by Hydro One networks. This is a concern of mine. The section in the resolution stating easements that may be granted by Hydro One networks. I'm concerned with where these easements might be located as they concern my property and septic system. And further, will it be the township's decision solely? Do you guys hold, or staff and council hold, the deciding card if these are to be granted? And if so, would I have any say as to where they might be installed? Because the thing as it
You mean the
stands,
hydro easements?
yes.
They're already on the property, are they not, Cindy?
Well, the hydro email that I received confirms that there's no existing hydro easements required for this particular road closure.
Right.
So that tells me that there probably is not any existing hydro easements. I don't know what the applicant's plans are for hydro service to their property, but if they do need hydro, they will need to get an easement somewhere, whether that's on the road allowance or through private property or along the trail. I don't know. I don't know if that's been investigated yet.
And typically when hydro does put in poles, they try to put them on municipal property, right?
That's correct, yes.
And sorry to interrupt, that is the major concern here for me.
But you have to remember, Julie, that your shed and your septic are on township property.
Yeah, but you know what? Regardless, this going forward will have huge implications to me. So I just want to continue. And a major concern, because if people talk to me, I get scattered. It's almost like I can't process what's being told to me. I have
Okay.
to like just keep getting my point
Okay,
across.
keep going then.
My concern about the hydro easements, if in fact they are to be granted on this section of land, whether they exist now or not, as it stands now, the pole on my property is the closest place for the new property owners to get hydro from.
Right.
Okay? Is that noted? This could mean, I'm just going to continue with what I have. Okay? And I didn't get an answer as to, is it the township who has the sole decision-making card to say, yes, these easements can be granted, and yes, where are they going to go? Can anyone answer that now? Because that's a big concern of
I
mine.
think I could tell you that the township cannot refuse hydro putting poles on township property. I think there's probably something in a provincial law somewhere that says hydro has the ability to put poles on township roadways, provided the municipality is comfortable, they're not encumbering where traffic would drive.
Okay, and
I would think. Now, I may not be right on that, but
Okay, and my concern is this section of road, I hope everybody reads what I sent you in the package, because it's really important.
We have to.
Okay, so the section of road, it looks on the map as though it exists. It does not exist anymore. I've been told it has not existed for 50 years. 50 years, there has not been a physical road on that property. And I would not have bought that property if there had been a physical road there. Okay, so I just want to move on to my next thing. Any hydro infrastructure, I'm concerned that any hydro infrastructure installations on this section where it may affect my property, sheds, and septic, and thereby open them up to possible damage or require their removal, possibly at my own expense. And further, that I may be required to put an addition on my house to be able to accommodate this. The part of my house that's closest to this section of road is the bathroom. If this goes through, I would have to put an addition, not only move my septic, but put an addition onto my house to accommodate a bathroom in a different location.
But that would only be if hydro were going to be putting a pole right at your place, right?
Yes, but as I said, my concerns are the pole on my property is the closest location for the new property owners to get hydro into their property.
Right.
And as if what you just told me, that hydro has to, do you see where this?
But why do you think they need to put another pole at your property if there's one already there?
It's the one on my property is right on Bell Line Road. The wires go along Bell Line Road. Do you know what I
Into
mean?
you.
They are behind me 100 meters. It might not be just one pole. I would say it will not be one pole, but I'm just going to continue
Yeah,
and
yeah.
keep answering.
And that's something we can't answer for hydro either. So
I know,
we
but
can
these are
ask.
all the things that I need 100% clarification about and why I haven't slept since I opened that letter.
Yeah,
Okay. So these are my concerns.
We're at D.
That they could be damaged. I read that whole thing, did I not?
Yeah,
Number
we're at-
C?
We're at D.
Yeah, so number D, I'm concerned how hydro infrastructure on the southern portion of land at my property to the north end of it, my property abuts on the KNP trail to the KNP trail directly. And the road doesn't exist at all, as I mentioned, on the front of the property. At the back, there's a little footpath through the forest that meets the trail. That's all. Okay, so my consideration here, should the hydro be placed on my property at the north end where it meets the KNP trail, you know the swath of forest that needs to be cut down for hydro poles, right? So that they can be maintained, so that the trucks can have access to them. I would say it could be from this wall to wherever. And my concerns with that, then the trail could then become, or my property then becomes visibly and accessible to trail users.
Okay.
And no, I'm not finished there yet, which is it gives them access to my property, and that can have safety issues, I think, for me or any visitors I had to my property. And it also means there's privacy issues from me to the trail and privacy issues of people possibly crossing my property when I'm there. This to date, I have lived at that property for 10 years and never, ever, ever has anyone come from the trail that I have seen. I've never seen tracks in the snow. No one has entered my property from the trail. So that's a huge concern of me. And then also, if a big swath is opened up of forest there, I don't know if you guys know, I'm sure everybody does, trees act as a natural noise buffer and a privacy buffer. If that gets knocked down, and I will go into this later because I'm not these are my primary concerns. I can explain later about other things
Let's go on
regarding.
to E.
Okay, so E, another concern is that it being deemed necessary, as is described, I believe, in the background information regarding this road closure. It states somewhere in it that if the township decides to install, oh no, actually, I'm confused now. I'm going to go. Anyways, I'll just continue reading because I'm getting a little mixed up. For any reason going forward, if the township decides to install a new and oh yeah, no, this is it. If the township, was in the background information, that it being deemed necessary for any reason going forward, that the township decide to install a new and maintained up-to-date version of the old road on my property. This is stated in the background information that was why the road is to be closed. The township is to retain ownership of it so that should in the future, at any time, it be deemed necessary for a road to go through my property, this could become a reality.
Can I clarify something, Julie, which might make you feel a little bit better? So that comment with respect to retaining ownership was only intended for this section north of here. And when you and I met, I suggested that one thing you might want to consider is closing this does give you a lot more protection and privacy and possibly taking a conveyance of it so that you own it, so that that's not an issue.
I do understand that. But I'm just saying the fact that it states if at any time it be deemed necessary that the staff and township or staff and council decide a road go through there, there would be vehicular traffic.
But Julie,
let me finish.
That is true. It's township property.
No, but I'm just want to stress how this will affect me.
We know.
No, you don't know because I haven't stated this yet. Okay, I didn't state it in my package and I'm here to state it now.
Okay.
There will be cars passing, I would say 10 feet from my bathroom window. Do you understand, people, the difference, how this concerns me? This is major for me.
We understand that.
Okay, so that's why I'm interrupting to say you
That's
don't
okay.
know this.
Let's go on to F.
I'm going on to F. The cost to me, this is what you mentioned, Cindy. I understand I'll just go. The cost
Yes.
to me of closing up the road at this location to be able to protect my home and property regarding all these concerns I have been mentioning for now and forevermore, the cost to me as defined in the resolution or background report, understanding that if I want to protect my property by purchasing this section of non-existent road, I would be responsible financially for paying for the survey and for purchasing the land. And I would say I have other further concerns about that I'm not going to mention now. The cost, I think, would be based on a current road allowance, whereas back when that road physically existed, I was told it was 10 feet wide. So if I'm charged for 66, because you pay by the square footage, if I'm charged for 66 feet of a township road, to me, that's not fair because the road never existed there at that. Do you know what I'm saying? That is a concern for me, and I would like that to be addressed as well. So I'm just going to close up.
Good,
And,
okay.
and please, these are my primary concerns. They are huge concerns. I would not be able, if any of this happens, especially a road going through, I would not be able to live there anymore. It would force me to have to sell my property and move. The reason I chose that property, I looked at so many houses before I bought one, and I chose that property for exactly the way it is now. And this motion and resolution as it exists changes the game for me in a big, big way. You know, it will affect the resale value of my property should I want to move. et cetera, and so forth. So I'm just going to say in close, and these are my primary concerns at this point. I have not had time to address my other concerns. I have other concerns about this.
Okay,
I just want to finish. Let me say everything, please. This resolution is clearly not the one. Everyone has come to decide that. That's why it's being deferred. And I thank staff for that. Because God forbid it went through at this meeting. I can't imagine. And I also hope that nothing is rushed through, because this has serious considerations, not just what I've highlighted here, but other things that I have not mentioned at this meeting. So I just strongly support the deferral at this time.
Okay.
And, you know, the new resolution, it's going to be examined very closely by me regarding all these concerns that I've mentioned here today. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
that was what I was going to ask. Does anyone have any questions for Julie? I guess the one question I would have, Julie, is when you purchased the property, did your lawyer indicate that that was a township road?
Yes, and I would say, you know what? I don't even want to talk to that matter yet.
Okay, that was just
Okay,
my
I'm not
question.
going to say anything about that yet
Okay.
right now.
All right. Very good. Thank you for your comments, and we will take them into account for sure.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council?
I thought that was mine for a second.
George, come on up. That's Julie's.
I'll keep it very short, Madam Mayor, council members. I own property along the section of the road that's proposed closing as well. So I guess it'd be very inconvenient for me to reach my property if I had to go all the way around 509 to almost Clarendon and then back to get to where I want to go. And I was through there on the weekend with the four-wheeler, and it's perfect the way it is for me. I think it should remain open. And on top of that, I think you're setting a very serious precedent here if you close that road and for the purpose of making building permits on it, all on the road. Everybody's going to want to do that now. And I think the trail is not meant for traffic, but it's being used as a public road anyway right now. But it just doesn't make sense to me. That's positive. Bluntly.
So the road would be quite acceptable to use as access to your property, right?
It is. I can go with a tractor, four-wheeler, snowmobile, whatever way I want.
And you tend to go by tractor, in which is if you had to go up around Oso
If I
Road to
wanted
the far end,
do something major.
long
yes,
way on a
yes,
tractor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if it's going to be easements, I think I should get an easement as well.
Well, it sounds like we'd need a lot of easements from the people that are here tonight. And
Okay,
the people
thanks.
who haven't come to tell us that they use that road as well.
Any questions?
Any questions for George?
I would like to ask George one question. We got some pictures with us in our package. And George, are those, the road you're talking about is where I see all the water?
Yes.
And I guess that's because you got.
There's lots of beaver ponds.
And that's why it's up right now. Is that correct?
And that same beaver pond cuts my property in half. I'm upstream from that.
Right.
So I
Okay.
can only access it from that road.
Right. Okay.
And I was through there and the water's so deep, all right, but no problem going through it.
So it's still passable.
Well, sure it is.
Okay.
I wouldn't take a new pickup through it.
I
But
went with Steve Gold in the pickup truck on whatever day it was. I took those pictures and we couldn't drive through the wetland part. We had stopped there and turned around.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else wants to come to council? Hello.
Mayor, council members. My name is Carolyn Burke. I do not own any property. My grandfather used to own quite a bit of acreage there, and my sister, myself, my daughter, and thankful to Bill Mcdonald, he allows me to park my trailer in his wood yard. And, you know, we've ridden back there forever. And it is so, I know I probably have no right to even say anything about it, but it's just, it's glory. It's unexplainable. Never mind the road. I mean, we can go through on horseback, we can go through on tractor, that's fine. But it's just so pristine that, you know, the trail used to be like that, but now the guardrails are like this. You can't even ride side by side with like two horses. Anyway, I just really would just ask that you please give this serious consideration. And, you know, just allow us to keep using it. You know, we're just a little town. What's wrong with being little? You know, we don't need everything expanded.
And you don't need a road.
And we don't need a road. And we don't need a closed road either.
No.
Mainly. And, you know, as I said, I probably don't even have any reason to be sitting here asking for such a thing. But I really am very emotional about this.
As a user, you have every right to be here. It's public property.
Yes, okay. Well, I
Yes.
certainly have enjoyed and hope to continue to enjoy. So,
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Don't ask me any questions.
Something about how the horse is or how many horses you have, that kind of thing. That's- Okay. Certainly some emotional ties to this road. And one of the reasons that we need to look at a possibility of limited services or how we could rezone for the people who want to build in that area. I don't think they're asking for a maintained road either. So definitely staff and council will take a look at what other options could possibly be utilized to make this work for everybody concerned. So that will be our job going forward. So,
Mayor, can we just see
Yes.
if there's anyone virtually who wishes to
oh,
speak?
right. Sorry, Cindy. Yes.
So if there is anyone that wants to speak, can you use the raise hand feature and we'll move you over?
Can I use my chair to see who these people are?
You won't, there's no picture of anyone. You'll hear their voice.
Okay.
Okay, you've been moved over and unmuted. Please go ahead.
Thank
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, I just want to know what's going to happen to the land that the township's going to give up, like south of the old railway bed.
Cindy.
Are
what-
you referring to Julie Drucker's, the section in between Julie Drucker's property?
Yeah, I own, according to my survey, I own between Julie and the railway.
Okay. On the east side?
Exactly.
Okay.
Can we get your name, please?
Frank Kuiper?
Frank Piper?
Yeah.
Oh.
East side, that's the east side of that road you're going to close.
So for that section, our typical policy gives sort of the owners on either side of the road allowance a right of first refusal if they wish to purchase it. So we have several different options we can consider. One is just closing it and not conveying it like we're doing with the north piece. We could close it and convey the section that makes sense to go to Ms. Drucker. And then if you wish to purchase your portion of it adjacent to your property, we could consider that as well. Or just leave that whole section of road allowance in its current state of open. That's I guess the third option.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we have a question. Victor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor. He says he's owning property. Is that like north of that rectangular piece that Julie owns? Is that what he's talking about?
I believe so.
I know if I'm allowed to answer.
Okay.
They're my nearest neighbors to the east on Belline Road.
But they're on Bell Line. Then
They're on Belline, but if you can look at your map on my property, I'll explain it to you if you really want to understand it
yeah, so
properly.
it's here and it's
If you
probably
look-
L-shaped.
It's the
Okay,
section.
Julie, do you mind coming up here so that otherwise nobody virtually can hear? Sorry.
Sorry. So It's the section, if you look at the piece of land that splits my property in two, was it Frank?
Yeah,
Yes.
Frank is talking about, he owns the section that goes further back towards the trail from that little piece of property. And the next house over, if you look at mine.
Yeah.
Is theirs right there.
So then it's sort of like a L shape that goes up to the road allowance.
yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I just needed to be clear on what we were talking about, so
Yeah.
there's no confusion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Is there
Okay,
anyone
thanks.
else? Go ahead.
He said, thanks.
Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Okay, if there is anyone else, can you use the raise hand feature? No.
Okay. All right. So the motion on the floor was, I'll just read the last part, and further that in light of the comments received at the public meeting, council defer the recommendation to stop up and close a section of the Osa Road pending further legal advice. All those in favor? Motion's carried. So we will keep in touch, and we'll have another meeting to let you know what we've come up with.
Bill ran away.
Can I ask,
Sure.
will the next meeting also be a public meeting?
All of our meetings are public, yes.
Oh, okay, so I'd be able to weigh in again with.
What you have to be on the agenda, so you have to let the office know that you want to speak.
Okay, and what was the date of the meeting again?
The second and fourth Wednesdays of every month
No,
we
what-
meet.
What is the
Sorry,
date?
Tuesdays.
What is the date where we will speak to this motion?
We haven't set that because we have to get staff doing some work.
Oh, I see.
We'll let
Okay,
you know.
Thank you.
Does somebody want to shut that mic off right there? Cindy's got it. Yeah. We'll let you know, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you're welcome to stay while we go on with our meeting. You don't have to leave. We're now doing fire and emergency services. Okay, we have Chris and Jamie with us.
Tom Ellison's got Jamie.
Yeah, that was a long one. Okay. I will read a motion and then we shall talk about this. Motion is moved by Bill Mcdonald, seconded by Tom Dewey. Whereas the township has enabled our current fire department, known as Central Frontenac Fire and Rescue, pursuant to bylaw 2018-19, as amended by law 2021-68. And whereas the manager of emergency services fire chief has identified a need to update the bylaw to ensure it meets current statutory and municipal needs, and recommends repealing the previous bylaws and passing a new enabling regulating bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that council receive the draft bylaw attached to this report and consider passing said bylaw later in the meeting. Discussion. Who wants to start? Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I have. I do have a number of questions. Some of them are just relating to where does the authority for the fire department to enter into properties and onto properties, and I guess to control people. There's a lot of points in there about that. I don't know if there's an act that we should be referring to in the bylaw that gives the fire department those authorities. I don't know. I have several, so I don't know if you want me to
No,
go through
go
them all
ahead.
now.
Go ahead. Sure, go ahead with that one, Chris, and then we'll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So the legislation for that is under the FPPA, and those sections are quoted right out of the FPPA. So it's the Fire Protection Prevention Act, 1997.
So is there anything in the bylaw then that would refers to that those authorities come from there?
Yes, it should be in there, yes. I'm just trying to get it here for you. Just bear with me here. Trying to get my. It's not coming up on this. I'll get on my phone. Sorry about that. My laptop had died. so-
Does anybody have a paper copy?
I do. Right on the first page, it says right up there in paragraph
Right.
3. It
Yes.
says the Fire and Protection,
Yeah, there it is there, sorry. Whereas the Fire
Protection Act
amended.
as
requires
amended.
municipal establish.
And I think that's where the authority comes right from.
So we have to establish under the PPA, we have the rights to access properties for emergency services and for inspections. And it's mandated as well that in the act that we have to provide a public education program, a smoke alarm program.
Your next one?
There's a statement in there. It says 8.8, and it's talking about mutual aid. Is that normal that the fire chief would negotiate and enter into those agreements without coming to council?
So no, the agreements are developed, implemented and brought to council for approval. As automatic aids are as well. I don't know if you know the difference between the automatic and the mutual. So automatic aid is a agreement that's put in place so that if there is a call on a borderline of the municipality, there would be an agreement that possibly a neighboring municipality would come in and automatically to assist. Whereas if you have a large event, like possibly the storm that we had, and we need additional services, that we could ask another department to come in. So the chief of the municipality that's being requested would make a decision. If he had the services he could provide at that time, he may be busy himself with the storm. He may not be able to respond, but if he is available to bring resources over, he would do that. So that's how that system works. Right now, we have no automatic aids in this with any of the neighbors.
To Chris is also, any of those agreements come to council anyway.
Oh, yeah,
Because the mayor and I have the
I've
authority
said
to
that,
sign
yeah.
and council do get to approve. those.
Absolutely. And they're reviewed on a regular basis, right?
Basis. Mhm.
Next one?
So then there's a couple missing points down in the goals. The directions. So goals 2 and 3 are missing. I don't know if it's just numbering or if we're actually missing
Okay.
a couple of points.
I'm not sure where you're looking now.
Do you have a page number, Philip, or?
It's near the end where you talk about the goals of the fire services.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So the reason that we brought this ENR bylaw up to date for council to look at is because there's been no recovery costs in place. So a good example was the fire we just had on number 7 highway near our border in the west end, sorry. And we had to bring in additional equipment and we had no way of charging it back to the insurance company if there was an insurance company. So we would have to absorb that cost. So that's one of the things that we brought up. Also, we wanted to bring up a lot of the services for public education, fire prevention as well.
Okay. Next.
This is just me being nitpicky on this one. 9.1, it says obey the orders of the fire chief. I just don't know if there's a better way to word that.
No, there isn't.
Really?
No. Quite clear on that.
Quite a few, but
That's the military.
No, it's that's the way that it's a semi-military environment and that's sort of the way it's worded. So it has to be clear.
Bill and then Nikki.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the gentleman here. I read over all of this, and it made my question may be in the next item, the fire and emergency service, but I got the impression that we do a tremendous amount of public education and in both the fire prevention and the rest of it. Just in your opinion, and maybe this will come out when the assessment's done, how close are we to needing a full-time person to do basically education throughout the community, both in fire prevention and new programs that might be coming? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Through you, Councilor McDonald and Madam Mayor. It will be something that I would say council could probably look at sharing services down the road or in the, in the near future. Public education is the #1 defense we have that comes first. It used to be that with suppression, enforcement and public education. Now the 3 pillars is public education, enforcement, and suppression's the last. Especially in a rural area like this, where you cannot, provide instant services of being there in a 5-minute time frame. Public education is critical to let people know that they need working smoke alarms, they need CO alarms. It's mandated by the province. So public events, getting out and speaking to the public and having events across the community is really important. And that will come out in the risk assessment and the fire master plan when we do that. We'll talk more about that. We are starting some inspection programs right now with the resorts in the area. I've been to 3 so far. I can tell you that there was a lot of work that needed to be done in a couple of them. They were pleased with what we did. We continue to do that. So sort of not going after, but I'm focusing right now on the seasonal people, if I can say. Right now, we figured with the seasonal residents, we figure we have about 8,000 seasonal residents in the community in the summer. That's what I've got so far for the risk assessment. So you've got a fairly large increase of flux of seasonal people. So I would say that probably down the road, you should be looking at shared services with another community for a fire prevention officer for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Nikki and then Brent.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. Chief, you kind of answered my one question. It was why you were kind of putting this before us today with saying about the fee, being able to charge for fees. My other question is the community risk assessment's not completed yet. And a lot of your core services that you'd spoke before when you talked about the assessment, will you need to bring this back to us and make changes after the assessment is done?
Yeah.
So the only reason then is to push so you can charge or get reimbursement for additional services that aren't covered.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor. That is part of it. We might, once the council's reviewed the services that we are providing right now, council may decide that we want to reduce some of the services or may want to increase the services. It'll all depend on the risks that we find or we evaluate going down the road. So, obviously we have a lot of rail crossings. We have the water, we have ice water rescue. We have those services as well. We also have some, a large school in the area. So there's other things that we have to look at as well. So for now, the ENR bylaw, I wanted to get it in place because partially for the collection of funds for fees, but also to get it up to speed for the prevention and public education piece as well.
Okay, so how long do you think, is there anticipated date for the community risk assessment?
At this point, the data is being collected, I know, by Lumix. So there should be something coming probably, I would say, by the middle of July, I would think. Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple more.
Okay.
Sure.
Under employment, so section 4, you state that people will be on probation for a minimum of 6 months. I'm not saying 6 months isn't good. My question is the township policy is usually 3 months. So sometimes there could be confusion with employees as to 3 months for one position and 6 months for another. So was the 6 months that it would take you that long to train somebody to be properly trained for the department?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor Galley. Yes, that 6 month was already in place here, and that's pretty common across the province. because of the extent of the training that goes on. The scheduling of training is quite extensive to get people in place. We're just starting our training for firefighter 1 this weekend, and it will go for 2 months. And then firefighter 2 won't be till the fall. So it also gives that piece to see if these people are up to doing the job, and if they're feeling comfortable and confident in doing the job. And it gives us a better feel of evaluation of what their capabilities are as well, and where they can fit in, what jobs we can give them, in the field.
Okay, and we had passed, or it had passed maybe about 4 years ago. Deputy Chief Riddell presented, I'm pretty sure presented it about junior firefighters and senior firefighters. Is that still in place, and should that be included in this, or is it just like an additional bylaw for the department?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor Gowdy again. We didn't put the junior firefighter program in the bylaw. We can certainly look at that. I talked to Deputy Chief Riddell about that, and we didn't think that it was valid to put it in there. Not that we don't think the program's important, but it's just it didn't need to be in the bylaw because we just didn't think it fit in with it. So we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Brent, we see your hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief. The question I have is with regard to 14.3, and I know we make a reference about the user fee bylaw, and 1999-47, and of course our naming convention is that you start with the year. By first glance, I'm assuming that the user fees that we're looking at need a serious update. So I was wondering if you could speak about, what we would be potentially charging in these chargeback situations, and not just chargeback situations, but in other situations. And, if you are anticipating some sort of revision to those charges, when would we expect those?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Cameron. Yes, we looked at the fees bylaw. It's 1999. We know we need to do that. The fees that we're talking about in section 14.3 also there would be no profit to us. So it would be just strictly straight billing back to the homeowner. If it was a house fire, we had to bring an excavator or another heavy piece of equipment. The Ministry of Transportation, they set their rates. So right now, I think it's at $505 per apparatus, and we're allowed up to 3 apparatus. So we just, in that bylaw, it was just stated that we would follow the MTO rate because it goes up every year. The service fees for inspections and plans review, fire safety plans review, all that will be looked at and be revised. And Cindy and I have talked about that as well, and with the CAO.
Bill. Oh, sorry, Tom. I thought you looked at me like you hadn't finished your question.
Thank you.
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, I've spoken to the chief about a number of items and that we've resolved, but there's a few things here I just wanted to go back over. One was to do with the definition of highway, big H, and then we got or highway, small h. And I'm just wondering if that is to include private roads, streets, laneways, that sort of thing, because we only talk about highways and both in capital H and in small h. I'm just wondering, is that assumed that is to include all those roads? That's number one.
Through Madam Mayor to Councilor Dewey. Yes, that's to cover all of the road network in Central Frontenac in the municipality. And it says bridge, trestles, viaducts, structures forming part of the highway and include portions of the highway. We're also looking at our fire access route bylaw we're going to put in place so we can cover private roads for fire access. In other words, like the school. There's a roadway in front of the school. It does say fire route, but it doesn't have a bylaw that pertains to that. And we need to do that as well. And that will be coming in time. but this does cover private roads as well.
Okay, under 8(9)(d), it says there maintain personal records as required in conjunction with the direction of the corporate services department for the corporation. And my comment here is, should that not read CAO/clerk?
8(9).
Section was under 8(9)(d).
Oh, D. Maintain personal records. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. So this is to deal with our training records, our inspection files. So we are actually right now in the midst of doing training for a new records management system that we had approved in budget. So that's what this speaks to. So all the files will be electronically in that system, and they go through my administration, my department.
So
The fire.
Yeah, so that's okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. I hadn't heard that used. There's just a couple of things more here.
Yep.
Most of them you have answered. There's just a couple of things I saw after.
No, it's all good.
If I may.
Yep.
Just bear with me here a second. Okay, that takes care of that. And if I go to 8622, your report, I go down to financial impact on your report. It says there is no immediate financial impact with respect to this report. It is intended that the municipality petition the courts for a set fines. And I'm just wondering what the process of doing that is. Like, how do we go about that?
Through you, Councillor, or sorry, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. So what it is, we have two options, the same as the buildings department. You can go through the Part 1 fines. So we can actually write tickets. We're provincial offenses officers.
Okay.
So if somebody doesn't have a working smoke alarm, we can write them a ticket right on the spot. And there's other things like obstructed exits or whatever that have been brought out. If we go to a Part 3, which is the courts, so then you do the debriefs and all the rest, and then it goes to a court system, and then we go that route, which is more extensive. So if somebody has a rooming house and the separations are defunct and the fire alarm doesn't work and so on and so forth, that would be something that would go to court, because that's not in the Part 1
And these fees are all set by the provincial court?
Correct.
Okay, these are not yours. So
No.
it's the same as the police writing a ticket for speeding. They know
Absolutely.
exactly what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that answered that one. Thank you. That's good. I think I've got it all here. Well, the other is under nuke. Okay, on the report, under the bylaw, the bylaw to adopt a municipal fire prevention policy, on page 3. Pardon me. This on the. Oh, okay. Oh, we're going to do the other one after. Okay, sorry. That's all the questions I had on that one. Sorry, rush it late. Thank you.
Yep.
Motion's carried. All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Could you put your hands up again? Motion's carried. Sorry, the mic wasn't on. I had to redo it. Okay. It's been a long night already and we're just getting started. All right, now we're doing fire and emergency services, adoption and fire prevention policy. And I have a motion moved by Sherry Wine, seconded by Bill McDonald. The council received the report entitled Adoption of Fire Prevention Policy and Draft Bylaw prepared by the Manager of Emergency Services, Fire Chief for information. And further, that council consider passing the bylaw to establish a fire prevention policy for the township later in the meeting. Discussion. Tom.
Okay, a couple things here. I guess I could have asked these when I was on the phone, but I found some things after. You set out here smoke alarm and smoke detector. And I'm just wondering, smoke detector seems very much like a definition you could use under smoke alarm, because the language in there is quite similar. So I'm just wondering why you use the two definitions.
Okay. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Council Dewey. So let me explain. Smoke alarm is a audible device on its own. It can be battery operated, or it can be hardwired, or it could even have a strobe on it, right? So it's an isolated device. So sometimes they're interconnected. You can have more than one but it's a separate system. A smoke detector is connected to a fire alarm system. It doesn't have an audible device. It goes back to the panel, and the panel sends a relay to a bell or a horn or a strobe. So they're totally two different items. It really frustrates me that the real estate agents call smoke alarms smoke detectors. It just bugs me to no end.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
We
anyway,
need to educate them.
that's right.
Second one is under new construction. Right. And it says here, the fire department will conduct inspections of new construction or alterations to existing buildings. When I looked at that, should that not say will not
I
conduct
think
inspections?
that was, yeah, maybe that's been changed. Yeah, maybe.
Was
Okay.
it changed?
Okay,
Okay, well, it wasn't changed. Okay, it
so,
wasn't changed on the.
That
cover.
was just to see if we were paying attention.
right.
Okay, okay, that's fine. That's all I had, your worship.
It's through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. So that piece for new construction. So back in 2002, the province brought out Bill 124 for a new construction. They had to be certified inspector. And so you had to have a building inspection code number. So when I was the president of the OMFPA, we set up the fire service across the province, and we had the building inspectors that took building code courses to get their BCIN. I was one of them, and he did that. So what we would do is we would go into a building, a new construction, and we would go in to inspect life safety systems in a building, sprinklers, fire alarm, whatever, and commission them for the buildings department if they asked us to, which they always did usually. So that's why that piece is in there. It's just the wording has to be adjusted.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This might be a dumb question, but under fire cause determination, it says that the fire department will immediately notify the office of the fire marshal of all large loss fires over 500,000. So anything under 500, like it just seemed like a very large number. In our area, we do have quite a few homes that on paper
Now.
say that they're worth that, but we have quite a few on the opposite end. So is it back to your determination or the fire personnel's determination, what to determine to call the fire marshal, even if it's less, like say 200,000 or even $70,000. If you think there's a problem, you call them in.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor Gowdy. So there was a directive that came out 2 years ago to update this. It says that over 500,000 or double the amount for a residential occupancy. And then it's also stated that if there's somebody that's a fatality or a serious injury, or if there's a significant loss to the community. So in other words, if the medical center went up, caught fire and there was severe damage and it had to be closed, maybe it'd be only 200,000, but it's still a real problem. So we may call the fire marshal in to do an investigation. Okay.
Okay. Now every house seems to be up to a 500,000.
Yes.
It's crazy. Okay. No other questions? I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay. That is it for fire, unless there's other questions for the chief and deputy chief while they're here. See none. You're free. Okay, staff reports. Planning reports. Sonia is with us in spirit and up on the big screen. Hi, Sonia.
Good evening, everyone.
I will read the motion and then we'll discuss it. Moved by Sherry Wan and seconded by Tom Dewey. Whereas the Planning Act was amended April the 14th, 2022 to institute several changes that impact the municipality. And whereas one amendment of the act was to add section 41, 4.0.1, which when a site plan control bylaw is in effect, requires council to appoint an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality to be the authorized person for the purpose of approving site plan applications prior to July 1st, 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive for information the staff report entitled Provincial Changes to the Planning Act through Bill 109 and Delegation of Authority for the Approval of Site Plan Control Applications. And that council consider the passage of the draft bylaw delegating authority for approving site plan applications to the clerk or their designate later in the meeting. Discussion. Sonia, what would be designated to these people?
So, through you, Madam Chair, the province is requiring now that all site plan control applications be delegated authority to staff or some other officer, but most municipalities are going to designate a senior member of staff in order to be the approval authority. Currently, it doesn't affect any other type of planning application, so it won't affect rezonings or committee of adjustment applications. It's just site plan control where they're requiring the delegated authority. I think the idea is that the rights in terms of developing the property, in terms of use and all the parameters around the scale of development are enshrined in the zoning. And so that site plan is really more of just working out some of the fine grained details. And I think the focus is on trying to improve the development application review process and hopefully making things move a little bit more quickly through that process. But it's just site plan control applications that would be affected by this.
Okay, Bill, you have a question?
My question, you might have just answered it with your last comment, is that how is this going to benefit the township, the size of ours that we're dealing with? Is it strictly a timeline issue in regard to getting some of these plans moving forward as part of the cutting red tape from the provincial government? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think, you know, a lot of us that work for rural municipalities find that a lot of what comes out of Toronto is sometimes very urban centric. So I can certainly see a big impact on some of the larger urban areas in terms of their process improvements. The township doesn't have a large number of site plan control applications. So I don't see this as a huge, you know, I wouldn't say it's not an improvement, but it's not going to save the township a huge amount of time. It does remove some red tape, you know, for the applicants. I will say that it's not uncommon to delegate some planning approval authorities to senior staff. I know a number of municipalities look at doing other minor things such as the removal of holding symbols, validation of title, and even undisputed consents. So the Township of South Frontenac, when the pandemic started, put in a process of delegated authority for some consents. So that's a conversation maybe we can have in the future if we want to talk about, you know, agendas for committee of adjustment that are overly heavy, and maybe there's an opportunity to delegate some straightforward lot additions and those kinds of applications. So this is maybe a good opening to how delegated authority can work. But right now, the one that the province is requiring be delegated is site plan. Anything else that you would choose to do in the future at this point is still optional to you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any other questions on this? It's the way of the future. Okay, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Sonia.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening.
All right, Development Services. Andy, you've sat there very patiently. Probably the best rest you've had all day, right? So I have a motion moved by Bill Mcdonald and seconded by Tom Dewey that council receive the construction details report, May 2022, for information. Questions or comments? Tom.
Andy, it looks like with the reduction in construction and rentals, that it's obvious that with the increased cost of building supplies and probably the increased fuel cost is deterring a lot of residents or a lot of people from going ahead and building it. That's what I was kind of taking from this report, Andy.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. I was on vacation for a week last month, and then I got COVID, so that slowed down the permits.
So it's not the economy.
I checked before the meeting, and year to date, I've got at least 80 applications, so I'm a little bit behind right now.
Oh dear, you needed a rest tonight.
So numbers will be up next month.
And how's our new co-building inspector working out?
Murray's scheduled to write his small buildings exam on Friday.
Good.
So
Excellent.
I wished him luck, and once he passes that, then he'll be able to start taking over some of the inspections and give me some more time to issue permits.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Any other questions on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
All right. So no more vacations for you when you get sick, right? Okay, thanks, Andy. Motion moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Sherry Wan. That council received the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated June 14th, 2022 for information. And Tyson is before us up there if you have any questions. Any questions, Tom? Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Tyson, I'm just wondering, with the rapid growing of grass, I just wonder when are we going to start cutting grass on some of these roads? And the other thing, in your report here, we sold off a fair bit of equipment. I just wondered what major items did we dispose of?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. I just want to check if everybody can hear me okay.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Grass cutting is scheduled for this month in June. And the major item that we sold was the Liebherr excavator. And we did really well on that as expected through Gov deals who we're working with now. And there was 3/4 ton trucks. There was a grader and an old tractor that brought in quite a bit. And also a tandem dump truck that did okay. There's actually a longer list than that of equipment. It's not all right in front of me, but there are several items.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, in regard to the Matthew Street project, I know that you said in your report there's more information to come. Would this be a project that you would possibly put off until September, October to not interfere with the summer crowds? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Mcdonald, we definitely have that flexibility. I'll look into that with the consultant to see what's possible there. Our completion date is currently end of October. So I know that the heavy construction part of the project is going to take over a month, but let me talk to the contract administrator and I'll get back to council on that.
Okay, Victor and then Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not so much a question, but just a thank you to Tyson and the crews. There were a couple of sections on Long Lake Road where it was patches on top of patches on top of patches. And they've done section where it's one continuous piece, kind of like what they did with the causeway. So there's 2 sections on Long Lake Road and 1 section on Mountain Grove Road that they're so much nicer now. I don't have to slow down to 80 when I go through those areas. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Heath. The northern portion of Long Lake Road is the second and final portion of our trial road with an asphalt rejuvenator treatment. And we are trying to get it in as nice a shape as possible before we apply that. And that way we can know how it performs. Thank you.
Okay, Nikki and then Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, Oak Flats Road is scheduled to get some pavement preservation done this year. North of the Moon Road portion is in extremely bad shape since the winter. My question to you is doing pavement preservation even worth doing that portion?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy, you have an excellent point, but we would definitely are going to be assessing which sections of Oak Flats are in good enough shape for only a single surface treat preservation. And I totally agree that winter was hard on Oak Flats Road, and we will be assessing whether that would be efficient to do a single surface treatment or not. There are sections I can confirm that are past that point.
Hey, Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for that update to Nikki's question, Tyson. toward that end, I was wondering if you could comment on any of the remediation that we would be doing in the temporary this year on Westport Road, because I think the way it was described by Victor on Long Lake Road, that's kind of where we're at right now. I know that our plan is to do a bigger, more comprehensive job next year, but I'm just wondering what the timeframes are with regard to just getting us to that point.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cameron, after the 2022 budget discussions where the capital project for Westport Road was removed, we increased the budget for hot mix and cold mix for patching, and we have been utilizing subcontractors to help us stay on top of the potholes on that road, just to try to keep us within minimum maintenance standards.
Okay. Anything else? Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just had a question about guardrail posts along 38 Highway. There seems to be an awful large number of them out, and just wondering when they will be replaced.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor, Steve, road supervisor, received actually, I think he received 4 estimates yesterday from local and non-local contractors. And if he hasn't sent an award letter to one of them already, I'm sure it will definitely be before the weekend. I'll make sure of it. I know the company that I can't disclose them yet. The company that was the low estimate, they did indicate that they could start right away.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Lots of questions, lots of answers. All those in favor of the motion to receive the report? Carried.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Tyson. All right. Administration. We have a motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council receive the lame duck council delegation of authority report as prepared by the CAO clerk for information, and further that council adopt the bylaw to authorize the delegation of routine legislative and administrative authority to the CAO clerk during the restricted authority period of council. Discussion. Victor and then Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, before the meeting, I had brought up that it's only the CAO clerk that's mentioned. I was told that it was also the deputy clerk, but I can't find it either in the resolution or in the bylaw.
No, it doesn't have to be in the next resolution. Under the designation of my duty as clerk,
Oh, I see. So
under the Municipal Act, if I'm away, then it gives the deputy clerk the authority to act in my behalf as clerk.
So even though it's not in the resolution and it's
I believe
not in the bylaw.
That's right. But that's my way I believe it. Yes.
Satisfied. Thank you.
Okay. So it also, the lame duck is 7, right?
It is, that's right. In the report it's 7, so it means it's 3/4. What happened, and I know that council had some questions, and I know Bill did in regards to zoning bylaw. No, you can approve the zoning bylaw. It's not restricted. It's very restrictive. The ones that are in here is what that we need to, but no, zoning bylaw, you can.
Go ahead.
Another question in regard to that. I just wanted to get clarified that during a lame duck situation, it doesn't really, the way I understood it, I read all the information. You are allowed to continue with budgeted items over $50,000. Am I
Provided,
correct?
yes, that's
Right.
provided that they're already in the budget.
That's what I
Correct.
wanted to make sure and get
Yes.
clear.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, we have a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith, that the minutes of the District 4 Rec Committee held April 26, 2022 be received for information. Discussion. I want to make a point that there are things in the minutes that need to be sent off to department heads. I know Hinchinbrook, there was stuff that needed to be done at the ball field. And because it's mentioned in the minutes, I think we should send that off to the people who may be looking after that stuff as a reminder that this is still to be done. And I think any of these committee reports, if there is something, somebody needs to go through and ensure that that gets to the people who can make things happen. Sherry?
I was just going to say, I agree. I think, Madam Mayor, that there's a misperception that sometimes it's in the minutes so that it's addressed, but I think it needs to be forwarded to department heads to make sure that things are being looked at.
Also too, because we do debriefing I do with the managers. So things like these items will be added on to the list. And then we know when they have to be, and then when they're approved and when they're done. So they're completed. Okay.
And I don't think there's much sense of us receiving these minutes if we don't ensure that the things that are mentioned are actioned. So all those in favor? Carried. I guess the other thing is, can we put recreation committees together on a motion instead of all separate?
Well, I think because they're each district separately, I think we have
Okay.
always just done that way too.
Just gives us more paper, I guess. Okay. Moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Nikki Gowdy that the minutes of the District 3 Rec Committee held June the 8th, 2022 be received for information. All those in favor? Carried.
Because they have different duties maybe.
Okay. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Philip Smith, yes. That the minutes of the Eastern Ontario Trail Alliance Board meeting held April the 14th, 2022 be received for information. All those in favor? Carried. Victor made an interesting discovery or comment just before we started the meeting, and that is people really don't have to sign the motions, just put their name in, and it would make it easier for me to read. So just throwing that out there. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council receive the March 24th, 2022 Rideau Valley Conservation Authority Board meeting minutes for information. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And another one moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Nikki Gowdy that council receive and file the following correspondence, and it's 1 to 8 in your package. All those in favor? Carried. We are at bylaws. Moved by Victor Hayes, seconded by Philip Smith. That bylaw 2022-37 being a bylaw to establish and regulate the fire department and to repeal bylaw number 2018-19 and 2021-68 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 14th day of June, 2022. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moved by Victor Hayes, second by Philip Smith, that bylaw 2022-38, being a bylaw to adopt a municipal fire prevention policy, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 14th day of June, 2022. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Another bylaw, moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith, that bylaw 2022-39, being a bylaw to delegate various planning approvals to staff and to adopt certain procedures for the processing of planning applications subject to delegated authority, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 14th day of June, 2022. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Victor Hayes, that bylaw 2022-40, being a bylaw to delegate authority to the chief administrative officer clerk, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 14th day of June, 2022. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. All right. Is there any notices of motions?
No, they're not, Madam Mayor.
Any giving of notices of motions?
No,
Any new or other business?
no, there is not.
Nikki?
Through you, Madam Mayor, two community members approached me wanting to plant a tree in memory of her brother at the ballpark and one wanting to put a bench at the ballpark, both in Parham, and asked if I would speak to it. So Colleen Steele would like to plant a tree in memory of her brother, Jim Lowry, by the Morris Lowry Memorial that was just moved from the school to the Parham ball field. And Bob Teal and family would like to install a bench there in memory of his mother, Louise Lee. And they needed to come to council. There will be no cost to council at all. They're paying for it all. Dan Hole, who works for the city of Kingston, who does the installs there, would like to do the installs, but they would also work with Public Works where needed. And they were just looking for approval to donate a tree and a bench.
I think it's fantastic. I think Tyson can go out, or Steve, and work with them where they can put it, something mutually agreeable to everybody. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, both people, Parham Ball Field and Fairgrounds was second home.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We are now going to move into closed session. Have a motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, fire department matters, section 239(2)(f). B, the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, 239(2)(c). All those in favor? Carried. Yes, it's about time we saw you.